Welcome to the Sparky Coach podcast. This platform was built by Sparkies for Sparkies. We simply exist to make business owners more profitable, or businesses more profitable and more predictable. So we want to work with people that work hard because we love working hard too, that work smart because you got to be on top of the business, people that are kind because no one likes a dickhead. Am I right? People who want results because that's what we're here for, right? And people who want to be part of a like-minded community. So if you're interested in hearing more about the platform, please reach out and enjoy the podcast. Sparky Coach Pod, Crowy and Cam here. I'm repping the Radical shirt, straight out of the sunny coast, straight out of Compton, straight out of something, straight onto my body.
I like it. I'm representing Hayman's Currumbin. Shout out to
I don't know
wholesaler lords.
What do I got to do to get a Hayman's Currumbin? What do you have to do for that? They just hand them out to everyone?
Maybe.
Oh.
It could be something to do with purchasing power.
Yeah. I bought a couple of dimmers last year, I think. So I should,
once upon a time.
On your account. I did actually.
And a couple of PowerPoints as well.
Yeah, a couple of. What are the series? Snow Leopard. Snow Leopard Trader. Snow Leopard. I always get it wrong. It's the other one.
It's the one that it's a really, really nice one that is
super sexy. Yeah.
Yes, I can't remember what it's called. That's really bad.
Looks good on the old Queenslanders.
Yes.
All right. So interestingly enough, we're talking today about the true cost of an average apprentice, which is huge. Let's not beat around the bush. But I want to also highlight the merch lord myself, copping merch from everyone. Cam and I will take merch from anyone as long as it's PG and as long as it's we'll rep your brand on screen for $0 down. But one day I remember years ago, dropping, I can't remember, $4,000 on hoodies, t-shirts, whatever. Uniforms. Just handed them out to everyone, all the builders we worked for, the other trades we worked for, the clients we worked for. And that branding exercise of that is absolutely huge. So if you're looking for your next step in I wouldn't say it's finding work, it might be, but it could be. It's like a brand awareness situation. Throw some merch at people, give them some t-shirts, give them something, give them some, because they'll wear it and they'll rep it. And as long as they're not doing any illegal activity in it, you should be okay.
Might help the cops though, if they need to narrow it down. Well, I gave it out to this many people.
Yeah, those guys were doing burnouts in a public space, doing manies in the CRM shirt, sticking the finger up to the old birds.
Manies.
Anyway, average apprentices. Where does your? I would say it's something we deal with a lot, a lot. And you would have heard me reference this before. Anyone who's listened to the pod. When someone comes into an info session or into our platform, I'm going to say it comes up in the first 5 to 15 minutes. Usually it's like, oh, and I've got this potato as an apprentice. And it's like, oh, okay, yeah. It just pours out of people. But where does your head go to?
Probably the first thing I think about is the long-term play that is an apprentice. So what that means is it's an investment in the future for your business. And what that really means is that you're producing highly skilled, highly, I guess, not so much highly qualified, because that's probably not even a word, but highly skilled, desirable people you want to work with, tradies. At the end, see that it's a production line for your own internal, I guess, development and growth as a business. And I think the key is that to understand that when they hit that sort of 4th year mark, it's a time that they're running some jobs probably and will be a key person within your team. So it's the investment is getting an ROI on it. And then once they turn into a tradie, that you sort of got a good period of time of a few years outside of that when they finish to really capitalize, I guess, on your investment as such. If we're talking in a banking finance sense. So I think first and foremost, my mind goes there is that what are we trying to build? What are we trying to achieve here for the business as a whole? As well as I think it's okay to have the expectations and the thought process of like, hey, we want really good people to come out. We want really good electricians. And I think I always look at it as an industry-based thing as well. So I want to get good guys in the industry, good guys and girls within the industry as a whole. So that's sort of where my first thought goes to. The second thought is the amount of headspace it can take up, time, energy, effort, if it's not working out. And I probably want to also preface it by saying that it's okay if it doesn't work out, in the sense of it just might not be the right fit. And it could be not on one individual party, as in it could be on the apprentice itself, or it could be on you as the business. And you got to understand that through your journey in business, that not everything's going to be the right fit. So you might not have the right fit with the wholesaler. You might not have the right fit with the client. You might not have the right fit with other employees within the business, like tradies, could be laborers, could be admin staff, et cetera, et cetera. So I think first and foremost, to probably have a realistic expectation as well, and understanding that it's not always going to be rainbows and butterflies. I believe there's some more words to that, to a song, but I can't quite remember them. So I think understanding that it's perfectly reasonable to understand that it might not be the right fit, and that it's okay to understand that part. Because I think when we just get going and kick off is we want to have the perfect apprentice, I guess, in that sense, and we put a lot of time and effort into it, and it's like, oh, we can make this work, we can continue to make this work. It's not working. It's probably in the best interest of both parties, if we're being honest.
Yeah, so to reference your butterfly comment, I believe you were talking about the hit single Crazy Town Butterfly back in the day. My butterfly, sugar, baby.
That's it.
I believe
Yes.
that guy had like a really obscure name. But I want to go back to what you said before. You said something along the lines of it's a production line to produce. And when you think production line, usually you think mass value. You know, you've got your sugar from Sugartown, the butterfly song, the sugar rolling along in its 1 kilo packets, 500-gram packets.
CSR factory.
Yeah, the CSR. But think about this with the production line, application of an apprentice hire. You have, I'm going to say most people have around one shot a year. So more often than not, you're putting on one apprentice a year. Maybe if you're bigger, you're putting on like 2 apprentices a year, whatever. But like, let's say, I think in my 13 years of running Crow Electrical, like just a residential, commercial, industrial, that's a classic electrical line, isn't it? Line, it sounds like straight from the script. I'm just reading chat GBT, like, what do we do again? I can't remember. But pretty, like we were producing more apprentices than others, and we produced roughly 10 to 12, I reckon, in my time. So on average, 1 a year. Sometimes we had 2 start in the year, and when I started out, you're putting 1 on every 2 years, something like that. But it's interesting to note, like, if this production line, if you're hedging your bet on one person a year, you get one shot to do this properly. You get one person to pick every single year. You get one person to pick, are they going to be a great fit for your company? Are they going to be good at their job? Are they going to, be able to retain them after they finish their time? So if you've got one shot at anything a year, you want to make it a good shot. Like you need to nail that. You've got like, you can't just fall over and the next packet just comes through. You have to be dedicated, disciplined, articulate. You have to sort of know what you want. You have to be okay with making mistakes. You have to be okay with like certain parameters on where they should and shouldn't get to. But I want you to fool Eminem it wherever you're listening to this. Like, you get one shot at this. Is this the person you're going to hinge your bet on? And so when people come to us and they're like, oh, I got this problem with my apprentice, and it's not just a problem. They didn't just turn up on Friday because they had a few too many beers on Thursday night, right? Like, so that's like there's passing problems and permanent problems. And a passing problem, someone turned up at 7:10 once or twice in the last 3 months, or someone like forgot they left a drill in a roof. So that's a passing problem. A permanent problem is one you're going home and you're speaking, oh, I can't believe Corey today. Oh, Jimmy did this. Oh, and I'm talking to my friends and in work, out of work, and it's coming out of me and it's affecting my day-to-day headspace. And it's been like that for some time, sometime being, 2 to 3 months and over. You don't have to stay in that relationship, I would say, but make it a good shot. So what are you looking for? Because I know, classic case scenario, I think Jaden from Rewired came on and he was like, you can't teach keen, and people are looking for keen. And I agree, you're looking for keen. I think the best summary is you're looking for someone who's good at their job and has a good attitude. So excellence is someone who's good at their job and has a good attitude. So how do you be good at your job in the first 3 months? You probably, what attributes are you looking for? You're looking for someone who's on time. You're looking for someone who's progressing. They might not be able to put a split system on the wall or put in cable tray by themselves yet, but they're on a pathway to be like someone who's, predicting your next step. So hammer, you look for, and it's there, bang, bang. They're aware of what's happening. They're aware of the pathway. They're aware of what's next. So what do you reckon you're looking for? Because I think, like, first and foremost, you're looking for someone who's got the foundations to stay, and they're going to stay for 3 to 5 years. Secondly, in my opinion, you're looking for someone who's progressing through the ranks. So it's a good indicator to reflect back on yourself and be like, well, how was I as a third-year apprentice? How was I as a fourth-year apprentice? Where should a third year, where should a second year be at? And obviously, it's relative to the predictability of the work. Like, if you're running 600 meters of cable tray, I would expect within a month's time that person's really good at cable tray. If you're roughing in houses and this is their 7th roughing in their first 2 months, I'm expecting by the end of that 2 months, they can handle upstairs lighting, upstairs power, circuits around, basically everything besides maybe like the kitchen layout, and even that's on their next step. So I think it is a little bit unique to what you're doing, but you have to have some kind of internal mind map. And this is where the people skills come into it, working out who is a good fit, who's not a good fit, but also working out like what is their next step. And this is why a quarterly check-in is so key, because it's like, what is your next step? What is their next step? They might be like, I've never fit a switchboard off by myself. I've never done a subboard. I've never run consumer mains. I've never put a point of attachment bracket on. I've never put a TV aerial on, or if they even still have those these days, whatever. But like, I've never run Foxtel cables just bare down the side of the house and just clipped it every second full moon and just let it wane into the abyss. Classic. I was just trying to make it look like the Foxtel techs out there that get paid per point. What are you looking for in an apprentice at the start?
So I think first and foremost is there's an attitude associated with it. So there's a want, I guess, a desire to be there. So I think that's really important, because I do believe, this is just my opinion, but I would say it's probably pretty well versed with speaking to a lot of Sparkies all the time, is that there's a number of young people who get pushed by insert person here, parent, guardian, uncle, brother, sister, insert the person here. So there's got to be a want and an attitude there to be able to, I guess, want to be there. It's really important. I liken it to, you might have had experience it yourself if you've got children, or you might have experienced it yourself when you're younger, or friends and family who have kids who do it. It's like a child who has been put into an extracurricular activity, insert here, that they just don't want to be at. It's like pulling teeth to get them there. So, it's a fight to get them there. Then it's a bit of a show, a bit of a scene while they're there, and then everyone goes home unhappy. Like, literally everyone's unhappy. So I think it's important to understand that there needs to be a want and an attitude there first and foremost. And that comes with, I think, a curious nature. So you can generally find out, I feel, if there's a lot of questions being asked, but not the same question. So it's like, how do I do this for the 50th time, like for the 50th or 60th time? Or what do we call that again? There's a general curiosity around, oh, hey, what do you call that? Or what's this? And they're picking these things up, and there's a natural progression. And I think it's okay to understand that you've got standards within your company. So you might have certain criteria, and I'm not going to sit here and tell you what you can and can't do, but you might have some certain requirements that you want to apply, and that's totally fine. That's up to you, and that might be an experience-based thing that you've gone through and you've been able to apply over time of like, we want this, we don't want this, we want this, we don't want this. So that's okay. So the keenness and the attitude side of it, then the curiosity. I'm a big believer in the curious nature of things. So how do you want to learn more about something or know a bit more about something? Just chat GPT. That's all you do, and you'll be an expert. No, you ask questions, so you look into it and you find out. So it's like, I'm interested in wanting to know more about. I'll give an example. One of the members the other day wanted to get some more information on group metering. So instead of going down like some rabbit hole, he used resources available to him. It was like, hey, what's everyone's thoughts on this, or how do we go about this? So he was, rather than just winging it on site and then getting defect by Energex, he was curious about and wanted to know the answer before he started it. So there's a curiosity associated with it. I think if you, as the business owner, and looked at it, I think a really good way to reference it is, what were you like as an apprentice, and what do you do? Because where your expectations sit, whether they're written down on paper, whether they're in your head, whether they're on a whiteboard, or whether they're just come up every now and then, what you expect and what you stand for will probably be a little bit of a reflection of what you went through and what you are as a person. So I think it's really important to understand that. So, and it's okay, we're all different. So it's totally fine to have that. So attitude, keenness, a bit of curiosity, I want to be there, I think is a really important one as well. And the general, a general engagement, like you sort of touched on there, the general engagement around like progression. I'm looking for this, I'm looking for that. I feel like I'm good at this. Touching base with them to see how you're going and communicating with the other team members. The last one there I've got is, I think you need to fit in. And that's not as in they need to change or anything like that. Your work environment, there's a team that's being built around it. There's no two ways about it. That there needs to be a fit culturally. I'm going to say is probably the best way to describe it, to fit in. If you look at a footy team, all the successful footy teams have a buy-in, have a culture that's built around, there's an element of people buying in and fitting into it all. So it's okay. And so I'll reference back to, again, it's okay if it's not working out. That's the thing. I think it's all understanding to be like that. It might not be working for certain reasons, which we'll dive into in a second. But that's where my head goes to first, associated with there. It's probably, I think, the important things to learn about, or to, I guess, identify within the apprentice.
Yeah, and I think you'd be crazy not to realize one bad apple ruins the batch. Like you reference that to fruit or staff. If someone's in there and they're not very good, it's like, what's the flow-on effects? Let's say you hold on to someone, which I'm going to say anyone who's been in the trade business for quite some time has held on to an apprentice for longer than needed to, or ended up with a tradie who was an average apprentice, turns into an average tradie, and they're left in literally no man's land, or no person's land, I should say, unless you've got the right style of work. So there is a need for good in your business. As your business gets to 8 to 12 to 15 plus, you can have good people. And you can, to be honest, you can even have average people. If that average person is working it's a head trade, he's working with an average person, working with a weapon second or third year, it's not a bad team. But you got to look at it. The tradie is going to be on relatively comparable wage to the average tradie. And the apprentice is probably going to be better than the average tradie. So although it's okay and you can get by because you're using them as labor, that labor still comes at a cost. And the cost might be emotional. It might not be like a physical cost. You might be making money on them, but it might be an emotional cost to your head tradie, feeling referenced off a reference point where he or she is nowhere near. Or it might be your second or third year going like, well, staff this guy. Like, I'm better than him or her. I'm going to go out and do it myself. So make no mistake that you have to be onto this stuff. Like your company is operating at many currencies. One is money. The other is morale. I mean, there's hundreds of them, right? There's like workmanship or work personship, whatever you want to call that these days. And also back onto that, you got to reference your size of company too. Like if you're in a 0 to 3, your apprentice matters so much because you're probably still on the tools. So when the apprentice is walking around, they might be working with you. So they're learning your work ethic, your like the quality of work. They're referencing your hard work. They know they answer, like they get a whole sense of what it takes to be a weapon on and off the tools, which is probably one of the only times that's going to happen in your company. And they get to look at you and think what you do is normal. which we all know it's not normal because you're a beast, you're a weapon, you're the best thing that's ever lived. But like, it's not normal. But the work you get through and the work ethic you carry and going to the van at 5 o'clock for the grinder and coming back out and chasing things, like, it's not normal. Like, if you're an employee, you would have left. And so I think, like, but that's what you want them to see. So how important is the right person seeing the right thing? The wrong person seeing the right thing might not change. The right person seeing the right thing, the right apprentice watching the right person might just get, you might, like, they might end up exponentially better than they would have. So who they're sitting under matters, and no one wants to work with a peanut. No one wants to work with someone who's not good. No one wants to work with a potato. So it's just try and sort of reference that point. So company size comes into it. When you're still on tools, it really, really matters. Not saying it doesn't down the track. It does, but it matters a lot more when you're on the tools because they're referencing you. The type of work you do matters too, to attract the right apprentice, but to retain the right people. It's so interesting. I'm so interested to see where the coaching industry lands in 5 years' time when everyone's like, we're doing residential Betty work. We don't work for builders. We don't work for anyone. We just work for Betty. And I'm like, that's cool. Good luck retaining and attracting staff when you're crawling through roof spaces with yellow insulation, day in, day out, week in, week out, and you're installing 4 ceiling fans and 2 ceiling fans and 1 ceiling fan and 3 ceiling fans. I'm like, it kind of works, like, no offense, it sucks. Like, it's not a long-term play. Like, the big dogs, when you hit 35 to 45, you wanting to work with the best people in the best environment, and you need to foster that. And the growth of the business, reference this. Anyone preaching that style of work, I guarantee you, has 3 staff members, because it's an unsustainable amount of work to get through when you've got more staff. All those little jobs. It's incredibly, your revenue looks good. It's incredibly high on admin. It's incredibly high on staff turnover. It's incredibly high on phone calls. It's incredibly high on, like, oh, actually, you said that was 150 and it's 160. It's incredibly high it's generally speaking a larger percentage of work, which is a larger percentage of people with maybe the same percentage problematic customers. You're just doing more. So if you're working for long-term clients, you might get through 10 clients a month, and you might have vetted all them already, and there's 0 problems ever, right? I was just speaking to one of our members, and I was like, man, we had the best clients, and and I'm like, I had no issues with these guys because they're all legends, because I've all been vetted over like a 10-year period, right? But so you reference that to imagine getting through 200 jobs a month or 500 jobs a month. The sheer percentage play of problematic customers is going to come into it just because people come into it at that point. So you got to reference type of work. Also want to highlight this, which no one really talks about a lot, but if someone's failed TAFE, that's going to cost you. Like that, if you're the 4th year of an apprentice's career should be fully billable, and that's where you sort of making your money back on them. If your apprentice is going to TAFE 1 day a week in the 4th year because they failed TAFE, that's a huge blemish on your company's profitability. You've lost basically a tradie 1 day a week for 52 weeks or 44 weeks or 40 weeks or whatever TAFE is, 40 weeks, right? Do the math on that. If that's $1,000 a day, they've just cost you $40,000 because they couldn't study for a test on Tuesday night. How important is that last $40,000 to grab and grasp and get a hold of? Like, it's crazy. So don't underestimate how bad someone failing TAFE. It's not okay. You're going to pay for that in the 3rd year and 4th year. They need to make up that time if possible at nighttime, or they need to be like, hey, get stuffed. If you've just cost me $40,000, $20,000, like, I've given you opportunity, I've put you in the right spot. I've given you trust. I've trusted you, and that trust needs to be reciprocated to you producing an outcome. And I think too many people get caught in the nice person trap, and that's great. Like, I'm not saying don't be nice. I'm saying be nice, but be nice to the company. If you're holding on to someone because you're a nice person, but it's not the right thing for the company, that's not a good transaction. Like, you're not a good boss. That average staff member will no doubt, they're going to cost you clients, they're going to cost you staff members, they're going to cost you headspace, they're going to cost you money, they're going to cost you time, it's going to cost you. And it's just because you were too worried, too insecure to have a 3-minute conversation. You know what I mean? So it's like, the turnaround here is huge. The focus point has to be on, if you're going to make a decision, like, if you're going to employ someone, make them good. Like, make sure they're good. If they're not good, have some checkpoints along the way. It's not a one and done situation where you're like, oh, sweet, we'll just see you in 4 years. It's like, no, there's checkpoints on the way to be like, are you on the right track? Are you maintaining a good attitude? Are you passing TAFE? Are you a good fit for the crew? Are you all this sort of stuff? And are you like a good steward of the job I've given you, of the opportunity I've given you? Because the trade is a fantastic place to be now, and even more so in 5 to 10 years' time. And if staff are hard to find now, you just wait another 5 or 10 or 15 years. They're going to be hard to impossible to find, right? And so it's like you're responsible for creating your own ecosystem. So if you're not repopulating good or excellent or great people, you might want to check yourself before you
wreck yourself.
Really wreck it. It's my wrap up.
I like that there. Yeah. So I probably just want to finish on the impact that it can have on the business, and particularly the business owner itself, is that the average apprentice effect, I guess you'd want to call it, is the effect it can have on clients, which you touched on there, can affect it have on other staff members, which you also briefly touched on there. But I think first and foremost, the effect it has on you as the business owner. I think we need to recognize this here, because there's productivities, there's efficiencies, there's probably the repetitive phone calls, those sorts of bits and pieces, repetitive conversations that come up. But I want to probably reference the effect that it has just on you personally is probably, I'm going to say, because we probably sit at arm's length a lot of the time to this, so we can sort of see what's occurring and probably a bit more aware of what's occurring as opposed to the business owner. The detrimental effect it can have on the complete consuming nature it has week in, week out. Rather than, I guess, I'm going to say bite the bullet is probably the way to describe it in a nutshell. Rather than biting the bullet and having the tough conversation or making the tough decision, it can be prolonged by, I guess, half-baked conversations and then half-baked decisions. And I'm going to say that this is unfair on all parties, because it's unfair on yourself as a business owner, because you become all consumed by this. And, we've referenced it back in other topics, and what Crowley always, I guess, sort of comments on is that you're projecting it at the barbecue, you project at the dinner table. And, it's the people get sick of the same conversation all the time. But then also too, I don't think it's fair on the apprentice either, because you're not actually giving them the truth. And I think if you reference back to yourself as a younger person, while you might not want to hear the truth, the best, I guess, outcome or best case, if you think back, and this is just my experience, the best outcome and case every time is when you actually hear the truth. You might not like it, you might not agree with it, but I think if you reflect on it every time, if you reflect on all tough conversations or tough outcomes that you think about that you had, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, insert your age here, I think you would probably all agree that was probably the right conversation that was had, and it was the right topics or subjects to bring up. And you mightn't agree with it at the time at all, but retrospectively, you're like, yeah. I think you need to have a look at that as yourself and be like, hey, what is the best thing here for all parties involved? We need to move forward. Reflect on what you set as your company standards, right? And there is nothing wrong with having high expectations and high standards, right? And if there's a continual falling short of what those expectations and standards are, the conversation must be had. It's a non-negotiable. And that's where I sort of finish on there.
Love that. Look after yourselves out there. Look after your spirits. Look after your apprentices. And if they're not looking after you, you need to do something about it. I was going to say fire, but it's bit aggressive. Relax. But don't relax too much. All right, good luck. Peace.
Thanks. Bye.
That's a wrap on another podcast. Whatever you're doing, don't be too busy to stop and check if you're making money. And above all else, you know the rules. Be kind. See you soon.